Well, I kind of go further back and go, the devices are something that we write in the process toward product, but we don't aim for the finished product. We don't know where we're going to go. The creative work is about the process, working on the concepts, the exercises, not on a prescription for a finished product. So the concepts I teach in method writing are not the end product. They are the process impulse. So all the concepts I teach, not just in level 1 and 2 that we kind of talked about, but in level 3, 4, and 5, and then the levels beyond. I have a whole bunch of levels. It's about the process. I'm always wanting the artist to honor the process, the way you work, not what you're aiming for, but just let the truth of the impulse of your process find its way, and then when you finally get your novel or your story or your poem, you won't have headed there. And my analogy in sports is, in golf, you don't aim to get the ball in the hole. You hit the ball correctly. You get the right club and you swing correctly, and if you do that, it'll go where it's supposed to go. But you don't aim to put it in the hole. So you go through your process and let the end result take care of itself. So that's what I mean when I say the creativity is about the process. Matter of fact, isn't that the term they use? They say the creative process. So if you come from the process, the product will emerge, and it will always surprise you. It will be unexpected. You didn't expect to be stuck. We started out with, I'm really thinking about da-da-da. And by the time we got through going through some of the techniques of the other side of the coin and other things I didn't bring up, you end up being stuck and writing about that subject that you didn't expect to write about. So that's what I mean by, it's not a prescription for product. It's a process. Does that make sense?
It does. Do you see a lot of writers that come in with the product mindset?
Everybody.
You think everybody starts out that way?
Sure, we're all human. We all have, ideas, things we want to do. Most people have some kind of idea what they want to write about, and they're always surprised that in some way they did do it, but they took a route they didn't expect. And if they had gone straight for it, it wouldn't have been what it ended up being. And that the unexpected path there was what makes it interesting, not where they got.
Why is it important to outline the story before you start writing it?
It's not important. I would never suggest anybody do that. That's exactly what I just finished talking about. That's where you're looking at your product and fitting your feet into the shoes of the right size, and you're not in any creative process at all. I would never tell anybody to outline your story, except there's two exceptions. You would make an outline of your story if you're being paid. And this is the other component, because if you're just being paid and this other component isn't there, then it doesn't apply. You're being paid and there's a deadline tomorrow or at the end of the week. Well, okay, they're paying me. They want me to write a story about ballistic missiles. Okay, I'll do the best I can with my talent. I'll outline what I need to do, blah, blah, blah. I'll get it done in a week and I'll make $5,000. But if they're not paying me and there's no deadline, why would I go with an outline for the product when the creative process is much richer and holds so many unexpected marvels? That's what I want to bet on. I want to bet on that horse, the unexpected marvel that will come from the unknown and the unexpected of the creative process. Why would I do it? If no one's paying me and there's no deadline, why would I purposefully sabotage my genius, which doesn't come out all the time anyway, if ever? I'm not going to make an outline, because then I'm bound by the outline.
So you don't need to know where you're going when you're writing a story.
It's not about needing to know. You are better off if you don't know. If you know, you're probably going to be in trouble. It's like love. I'm not
Tell
going to
me.
fill that blank
Tell
in,
me,
but
I want to hear it.
if you have a card, and every time with your date you keep looking at the card, oh, they say something funny, okay? You know, it's got a list of things you should do that will make your date want you. I mean, that's ridiculous. You have to be in the moment, and you have to just be there, be in the moment, see what happens. Love always happens when you don't expect it to happen, right?
That's true. That's true.
You know-
So you don't think blind dates work?
You what?
You don't think blind dates work?
If they're kept blind, if you are open. As a matter of fact, I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying blind dates can work. Listen to the stories that people tell of how they met. You know, people who've been together for 3, 4, 5 years at least. They'll say, you know, we never expected it. He was my uncle's neighbor, and it was a wedding, and he was there, and he's not anything like the person I thought I would fall in love with. I thought it was going to be this, this, and that, and I don't know, just something happened, and the next thing you know, we got 5 kids. You can't. Oh, there's a. Is it the Supreme? You can't something about love. What is it?
You
It's a
can't hurry
song.
love?
Can't what?
You can't hurry love?
You can't
just
hurry
have
love.
to
You
wait.
can't hurry
Yeah.
love.
Sorry, you don't want me to sing.
Yeah. No, you don't want me to sing it. I would be happy to hear you sing
Okay,
it.
all right, but people, we can put a link to the video for the song.
Yeah, no, you know, if something is going to be written, it's going to be written. Don't be afraid. Yeah, you got that story about you when you went fishing with your father. It'll come through. Don't worry about it. Go with the unknown, and it'll come in when you least expect it. But go with the unknown. That's the creative process. Unless someone's paying you
Right.
and there's a deadline, well, you know, you're not stupid. Someone's going to give me money to write about ballistic missiles. Okay, I'll do it. But otherwise, I'm going to go with the unknown.
So what about the people that say you must have a roadmap for where you're going? If not, your story will not turn out.
And I got a uranium mine that you must invest in somewhere out in Nevada. You give me $10,000 of your hard-earned money, and I'll make you $1 million. What would you say to that?
Can I go visit the mine?
I would say
You take me on a tour.
I would shut the door. So same is true for the story. I don't worry about it. It'll come through. And anyone who says you must know your story, if you want to put your money in a uranium mine, that's your business. But, you know, it's not what I teach. So I'm not saying my way is the only way, but it's what I teach.
What is the invisible motor?
The idea that a work of art is a mechanical thing, that's an analogy I use, but I discovered it goes all the way back to the Russian formalists who looked at the form rather than the content. In other words, not the story, but the devices you use to make the story come alive. And they felt that a work of art was like a machine, and it worked, as I said. And one of the analogies this guy used, a man named Victor Shklovsky, he said it was like a car. And he said some other things, but I go a slightly different direction. There's 3 things with the car. There's the engine, there's the inner structure and decor, and there's what the car looks like on the outside. What the car looks like on the outside is your story. That's your story. A lot of people write their stories and there's no engine and there's nothing inside. It's like a fake set on a movie's lot. That's the outer trappings of it. But to me, the motor that's under the hood, that's the invisible motor that powers a poem or a story. And when you work on your story or whatever you're going to be writing, the techniques that I teach are the mechanics of that invisible motor that powers your story. So that's what I mean when I say the invisible motor. And most writing classes don't really go to the invisible motor. They go with the design of the car, the story, how it looks from the outside. But they don't really get into writing. I want to make people better writers, not better plotters. When you're on a plane and someone says to you, "What do you do?" You don't say, "Oh, I'm a plotter." I want you to be, the one who makes the story go because of the engine. If I got in a car, the most beautiful car in the world, turn on the key, it doesn't work. I don't want the car. It's got to go. What makes the car go? The devices that we learn how to write in an authentic voice, then learn how to use the other 4 voices. Then I have other levels where I teach other devices. But these are devices that actually facilitate the creative unknown.
And what's the oil in that engine? What if I'm low on oil and now these gears and these different parts are going to start grinding and pretty soon the car is going to stop working?
That's
What
a
is-
good question. No one's ever asked me that. What's the oil?
Whether it's synthetic, vegetable, whatever I'm running on, what is that oil that's keeping this story?
Your emotional truth. That's the oil. If it's not coming out of here, it's not worth it. It's just imagination. This is good up to a point, but it has to have an emotional truth. What's the emotional truth? So that's the oil. Look at the oil you had a little while ago.
That's true.
I mean, that was a lot of oil, kiddo.
It was an oil spill.
And if you can hold on to that oil, not just for the story you would write about being stuck, but other experiences you might write about that same oil applies, now your story is going to be compelling for the reader.
Right.
You don't need an outline. You don't need a plot. You don't need that. If you don't have the deep voice and you don't have the oil of some of the other techniques, the emotional truth, you're doing what when Jack Kerouac wrote On the Road and he showed it to Truman Capote, he wrote it on butcher paper, rolls of butcher paper, which he just stuck in the typewriter. Truman Capote said, "That's not writing, that's typing." Now he was wrong, but that's a good analogy. And if you don't have the emotional truth, it's just typing, not writing.
Okay.
So, the way you're nodding your head,
Yeah.
and but you
I
think
was
of-
actually thinking of the movie Kill Your Darlings, which did a show part of it had Jack. So I was trying to picture what he was going through. I believe his character was in the film. So that's where I went to. I was
Right.
thinking of.
Right.
Did he go to France and people think he was homeless, or am I getting him
Now,
mixed
who are you
up?
talking about?
Jack Kerouac. Am I getting him mixed up with someone else? Where he went to France and he became very disillusioned because people thought he was homeless.
No.
No, I'm thinking of someone
No,
else.
he lived with his mother.
Okay, wrong person.
All his stories about him being on the road, he went on the road a few times. He basically lived with his mother and typed.
And typed. Okay.
But he drew on his experiences. He was a great writer. And he drew on his experiences. And boy, you read On the Road, and man, that book is, the poetry in it comes from the emotion of his deep voice. Just every once in a while, I read the last paragraph of On the Road. You just read that last 2 or 3 paragraphs, the last page. Man, it's great. And I just read it, and it sometimes helps me find my voice. Try it sometime.
What's the? Do you remember what exactly the paragraph is? Not word for word, but
I can't quote it. You'd have to read it. If I had it here, I could read it. But
fair enough.
you know, it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of writing. It's like a piece of music. Sometimes I will read a paragraph or a page out of a book that I know the way I would put some music on, because I know it somehow gets me in the mood or it touches me in a certain way. So same with writing. I'll read something and I'll read the end of Ulysses with Molly Bloom's speech, where, they're on this bluff and he's been trying to get her to make love to him, and finally she thinks, oh, what the hell, as him as anyone else, what the hell. And then she asked him to ask her again, and he asked her, and she said, yes. I said, yes, I will, yes. I'll read those last words in Ulysses, and man, I hear the rhythm of that voice, and it just really connects me. There's a lot of books, things that I'll go and read. I'll read the opening of Dante's Inferno. Midway through the journey of my life, I found myself lost in a dark wood. I found myself lost in a dark wood. How do you find yourself? By getting lost. Midway through the journey of my life, I found myself. Now, literally, it means I suddenly was there. I found myself at the East Gate. I found myself in the back room. But if you think of it literally, midway through the journey of my life, I found myself lost. And that's how I found myself, by being lost in a dark wood, in the dark truth of your soul, and of being stuck, and where you went when you went to the deep voids. That's your potent place. That's the oil that will make your engine run. And if the engine is put together right, and you've got these techniques that you know how to use, Indy 500, winner.
Is that why you love writing poetry? The rhythm of the writing? The rhythm of the word?
Well, the rhythm is the rhythm of the voice. I mean, that's the rhythm of the deep voice speaking to someone else in a very intimate way and connecting with them, I talked about my dog, Jessie, who she had cancer and we had to put her down. It's in one of my books. I like different sizes. When I'm doing a book, I like to think, what size do I want it to be? Like Lucky Finds with all the cards. Now, most of my books are going to be, the normal size of a book. But once in a while, I'm curious. So, like, I did a book of haiku, and I wanted it to be a flip book. So I thought it would be about that thick, and it would be 50 haiku. But it ended up, I wrote 300 haiku, and I wrote a introduction that was close to 450 pages.
Oh.
So it's got a 450-page introduction, and then it's got 301 haiku. And the introduction is, what does it say here? It says, in 201 chapters and 601 paragraphs. So the little book I was going to do ended up being like that, and it kind of grew. So I kind of like different things. This book is a smaller book too, and it has I think of it as a circus. The poems are all different, and I have a Chagall painting in the front, and on the back it's got a Rumi quote: "With passion pray, with passion make love, with passion eat and drink and dance and play. Why look like a dead fish in the ocean of God?" Rumi. So I have a poem in here that is about my dog, Jessie. This is not an earth-shattering poem. It's just about my dog, Jessie, who we had to put down. Jessie, my dog. I was driving back from a music recital this evening and found myself cruising down a street I used to frequent 30 years ago, but haven't driven down since. So many of the places I used to go to are gone. A favorite Italian restaurant, now a fitness center. A bookstore, now an antique store. A cafe where I read most of 100 Years of Solitude, now an ice cream parlor. It isn't as if I was planning to go to any of those places, but it makes me sad to know they're gone. It doesn't really matter. I'm 72 years old. A lot is gone. It's all gonna go eventually. By the cafe, a boy was walking his dog along the sidewalk. One day the boy will be gone, along with his dog. My dog's gone. Jessie used to lie by my feet as I sat at the computer trying to write a poem. She's gone now. No more Jessie. After I'd written the poem, I'd take Jessie out for her midnight walk. Sometimes we'd pass a house and the people inside might still be up, sitting at the table, talking and drinking. But mostly the streets were quiet and she and I would enjoy the night air, the way the leaves rustled when a wind came up from the ocean. Maybe a poem would be buried in someone's front yard and Jessie would dig it up and bring it to me, like a bone she just found. That poem about the man in charge of watering, Jessie dug that one up. She just dug it up and brought it to me. What you got there, girl? She dropped it on the sidewalk, then trotted off, looking for more poems, more bones. No more bones now. And few poems to be dug up except this one, which is torn at the edges, and I've stopped caring about the line breaks or the metaphors, or even the kind of things a poet is supposed to do when writing a poem, making everything ship shape. No more bones, no more ship shape. I'm not even sure you are reading this poem right now. Maybe no one is reading it. Like I said earlier, it doesn't matter, you know? I write the poems anyway. Jessie will come back some night, take my poems on our walk, and bury them in someone's front yard. And all I'll have to do in my remaining years is walk my weary bones down the sidewalk and dig them up. Dig up those poems that Jessie buried. My good girl, dog. Taking such good care of me, then and now. Jessie won't be with me, but I'll thank her. Give her a good rub on the back. Then I'll let her go. That's about my dog, Jessie.
That's beautiful.
So, it's not so much rhythm as the voice. You know, sometimes there are rhythmic things you can do, and that's part of your technique. So it depends. If I'm doing to be read and sung, you know, the repetition, then I would do that.
It's also about loss and change. You know, we
mean
talked
that-
about walking down the street, and this restaurant isn't here anymore, and this bookstore has changed.
Well, it's about, I'm 70, I wrote that when I was 72, I'm 78 now. So I wrote that 6 years ago. It's about thinking, you know, as I said, my dad died when he was 54, and I always thought I would live longer than he did. So, you know, when I wrote the poem, I was 72, and, you know, I'm feeling older. Your bones, your body, you don't, you know, I can't dunk anymore. You know, I can't throw a football 70 yards. And so you also think of what you can't do as an artist, that you're getting older and things are going to be gone. You're going to lose things. Friends will die and loved ones will leave. And I was just thinking about that and feeling all that. And then Jessie was gone, but I thought of how she would bury my poems and then dig them up, which is a metaphor, of course. And that eventually I'd pet her and let her go. That at some point, the poems don't come anymore. And the muse that brings you the poems, whether it's your dog or the muse or whatever, that will end too. And you have to let it go. You have to give them a pet and let it go. Whether it's a poem or a lover, a loved one, a friend, whatever.
Why?
What do you mean by the muse won't come anymore?
Well, the muse, you know, I don't believe in the muse, but I'm just using that cliche that, you know, poets sit and write and the muse comes and gives you the poem. I don't believe that. I believe that the muse is in you. But I just use that cliche as a kind of idea that you'll be sitting at your desk and nothing will come to you anymore. You know, the muses will say, you know, we got to work with this guy in Chicago. He's just 20 years old. He's just starting out. You know, take care of yourself, Jack. So I use that cliche that the muse won't come anymore. You won't have it. What an athlete can lose it, a writer can lose it. You never know.
But can you lose it for a while and get it back? I know the writer's block, but is that really that the muse won't come anymore?
Well, look, we're getting into technicalities here. I don't believe in writer's block, okay? I can write a sentence. Hemingway once said, when he had writer's block, he said, he would write this down. You've done this before. You can do it again. All you have to do is write one true sentence. He didn't mean true factually. He meant a sentence that was authentically spoken and real and not trying to be a writer and not trying to gussy it up, just saying the simplest thing you could say. You've done this before, you can do it again. All you have to do is write one true line. Well, I don't have writer's block. You know why? Because here's what I write. I got up this morning at 7 o'clock. I don't feel like writing today. I don't have anything to write about. It looks like it's going to rain, and later I have to go to Ralph's to get a chicken. Blah, 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 blah. I don't know what I'm going to write about, but I don't care. I'm going to write. Well, I don't feel like writing. I have nothing to write about. I feel like I have writer's block, but of course I never have writer's block. I don't know what it is, a big wooden thing inside my head. Just write. You don't have to have a story. You don't have to have an idea. Just connect with that moment, and maybe you'll write crap, but you'll write. I don't believe in writer's block. I don't believe in the muse and inspiration and all of that stuff. I believe in the mechanics of art. I believe if you know how to hit a golf ball and you know how to shoot a basketball and you practice it 1,000 times, then even if you're not in the mood, you can pick up the damn ball and shoot a hoop. I can pick up the damn club and hit the ball. Maybe I can only hit it 10 feet because my bones are old and I'm tired, but I can do it. I don't have to have, I need to be inspired to play golf today. Imagine if a professional athlete said, I only play when I'm inspired. You know, there goes that $1 million contract.
Why do people call themselves block writers?
I don't know, I'm not their therapist. They're operating under an illusion.
Let's make them notice.
They're not very professional. Yeah, if I get an injury, I don't go and play that day. But if I'm not injured, I play. I don't feel like it, but I play. Because I got to play according to the schedule. So I can get up and write. I've done it before. I can do it again. All I have to do is write one true line. I got up this morning at 7 o'clock. I don't feel like writing today. As a matter of fact, I have nothing to write about. It looks like it's going to rain. And later, I got to go to Ralph's to get a chicken. Blah, 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 blah. It's not magic.
You think people romanticize being a block writer? Makes them more tragic, makes them,
Maybe,
gets some sympathy?
maybe. But if they write about it, that would be good.
There you go.
See, if you write about it, you know, I feel blocked today. All right? Write about it. I just think, you know, if you can physically hold the pencil or type at your keyboard, you can write something. But what happens is when you think of your product and your outline, how am I going to get from point A to B in my outline? Oh, where am I going to start? And what happens when the door closes? And oh God, I have writer's block. I don't worry about that.
We don't care about plot, we care about the human being in the story.
Yeah, the human being is what matters. If the reader doesn't care about the human being, they can care less about the plot. Everybody tries to come up with plot. I mean, plot's important, and I could do a whole lecture on the difference between plot and story. There is a difference. Story is the chronological sequence of the events. Plot is how you arrange the sequences. And sometimes you don't always start at the beginning and go to the end. Sometimes you start at the end, and then you go to the beginning, and then to the middle. You know, then you have a flashback. I mean, the plot is much different from the story. But when you're writing a story or your plot, if the human, if the protagonist, whether it's first person or third person, if the reader doesn't care about that character, why would they care about the plot? They care about a character, and then they want to see what's going to happen to them, and that's the story. So character is most important. Every writer will tell you that. It's almost a cliche. You grab any writer, any published writer off the street and say, what's the most important thing in every character? Now, once you've got your character will lead you to your story and to your plot. Even if you've already got it made up and figured out and outlined it, characters change their mind. Characters don't always do what you want them to do. They will tell you what they want to do and what they want to say. And all of a sudden, your character leaves for Tierra del Fuego, and I didn't plan on that, but now they're on a ship going to Tierra del Fuego, and they're meeting a tall, dark woman with a long cigarette holder and a cigarette that has a long ash. Whoa, where do I go with that? You don't know. It's accidental. So once you've got character, then the character will create your plot. And where does character come from? Character comes from the voice. If your voice and the character is narrating from the deep voice, or the third person narrator is in the deep voice, that creates compelling character. So voice creates character, character creates plot.
And it can be no other way, right? Can't reverse.
I would never say it can't be any other way. What I'm saying is that in general, if your story does not have a character that people relate to, your story isn't going to be enough. And the way you get people to relate to a character is through the authentic voice. They hear that intimate voice, and suddenly that character is real and is alive. But I'm not going to say it's the only way. It's the way I think it should be, because that will succeed for you. Like I said, I don't think there's a writer out there that will tell you character doesn't matter. They're going to tell you character matters.
What are the steps to developing and building a character?
I actually teach a class in that. Well, one, establishing the voice. How does that character talk? How do they see the world? What is their attitude toward the world? And then you've got to collect a lot of details that I have my students make a character checklist. Not for any one character, but for any character. And you should be keeping this checklist for the rest of your life. Anytime you see something that looks interesting about a character, or you think about it, or you see it in a movie, or you read it in a book, make a note of it. And then when you start developing a character, riffle through your checklist and see what you got that's kind of interesting. So you want to find things that make the character compelling because of little things. What do they keep in their refrigerator? How do they wear their clothes? How do they eat eggs? How do they eat sunny side up eggs? So you should be paying attention. You know, a lot of writers, they don't pay attention. They've been to a coffee shop or cafe 100 times, and they've never really looked at how people eat. If you look at how people eat, everybody eats a particular way. The way they hold a fork, the way they cut their food. Sunny side up eggs, you should watch 10 different people eat sunny side up eggs, and every one of them will do it differently. I saw one guy, he cut the white, put it on the fork, dipped it into the yolk, okay, and eat it. And the yolk would come up, white. So he kind of kept doing that. I saw another guy eat the white without touching the yolk. Never touched the yolk until all he had was the yolk in the center of the plate. And then he took his fork and he slid it under the yolk, picked it up, and I tell you, to me, there's,
Cái đám mày này bé quá.
gets his fork under the yolk, and the whole thing, like he'd been waiting the whole meal to get to that yolk. Now, to me, yolk creeps me out. I've got to mix it up. When I was a kid, my dad would have to cut it all up for me because I didn't even want to dip it I wanted it all cut in little pieces and all mixed together. It would be a scrambled sunny side up egg, and I would eat it that way, dipping my toast into it. If you look at people eat their food, you'll find a lot. So you could do a checklist on hundreds of little things about people. What does their refrigerator look like? Everybody's refrigerator looks differently. And when I go visit a friend or anybody's house, even if it's a stranger, someone says, oh, let's go over to my friend's house or something. I look at their refrigerator and I look at their medicine cabinet.
Oh.
And I look at their books.
Oh, interesting.
I can tell more about a person by their medicine cabinet, their refrigerator, and the books they have than anything else. Whatever they are acting like, I know about them by that. Now, as a writer, I'm going to make notes of things I find interesting so that I'll use that in a book for a character. People who have 10-day-old milk in the back, or they have lots of Tupperware and everything is in there and it's already moldy. How do people arrange their refrigerator? Some are obsessive compulsive. They've got everything neat and perfect. So same with the medicine cabinet. Boy, medicine cabinet tells you everything.
Oh, like what?
Somebody's got a tube of cream that's been blick and the cream hasn't been used in about a year. But they've kept it because who knows, that rash may come back. And you can see the top, the cream that was squished out of the top is now brown. And it's been, they didn't even press it neatly or something. One guy's got his toothpaste and he rolls it as he goes. Another person is squishing it here and there and it's a mess. So there's all sorts of little eccentricities that you can find in a medicine chest. Make a note of them and keep it on your checklist because one day you'll be writing a story and you'll have a minor character and you'll have an opportunity to mention something in their medicine chest that will be interesting.
What about books? What does that tell you about
Well,
someone?
I always look at books, see what people are reading. You never know what people read. And you'll find anomalies too. You'll find all their books about one subject, and then they got one book on Aristotle. And you go, what are they reading Aristotle for? But then they'll have another book on how to make $1 million in the stock market. Or something, you just, this person's got one of their books that they must have read in first grade, and Jimmy Potts Gets a Haircut. And you open it, and it's got little illustrations in it, and it's a story about a kid who gets a haircut, and the barber made a bad cut, and some woman thinks he was hit by a truck. It's a story for like a third grader, and he still got it. I wonder why. Gee, I'll use that in a novel one day. So you make notes of things that you think are interesting, and you put it on your checklist, and you have hundreds of things on your checklist. All sorts of things, just their emotional truth, just their anything. And then when you start writing a short story and you got a character, you think, all right, what have I got on my checklist? Maybe I can use some of this stuff. The way they clean their glasses, the way they wear their glasses.
The inside of their car.
Well, that's another thing like a medicine chest. The inside of the car. I knew one guy, every time I'd get in his car, I'd say, why don't you grab a shovel and dust up? It was that, it looked like, what do you call it, the junkyard.
Or the ones with the serial killer clean, where you're like, whoa, this thing's been...
You get in a car that's absolutely pristine. And you
Yeah,
go, wow.
a little freaky.
Wow, I don't know. I think I admire this person.
Oh, okay.
They really worked hard. I'll have a penny on the mat on the, not the driver's seat, but over there. It's been down there for like months, and I just don't feel like picking it up. And I kind of got used to being it down there. I figure, I'm not going to pick it up. Let's see if someone else picks it up. And if someone else does pick it up, I'll go, oh, okay. Character, interesting. Some people won't let sleeping dogs lie, and some people won't let lying pennies sit. So, you find out little things that are interesting. I read a detective novel a few years ago, 30, 40 years ago. And it was about a character who's a main character in all his detective novels, who is a detective, and a crooked sheriff in a small town in Florida throws him in jail for something. So he's in jail for like 2 days, and he's just trying to keep his sanity and figure out who did the murder. But in order to keep himself occupied, he thinks of things. And one of the things he thinks about, and it's a 2-page essay, you're not old enough to remember this, but when I was a kid and you had skates, nowadays skates are attached to shoes. You just put your foot in the shoe that's got the roller skates attached to it. But when I was a boy, you had the metal skates that had little clamps on it, and it hooked to your shoes. Not tennis shoes. You had to have shoes that had, rims on them that you could hook it on. And then the way you would tighten it would be with a little thing that looked like a little wrench called a skate key. And you always had to have the skate key with you because you never knew when it would change and the skate would fall off, and you'd have to unscrew it, put it back on your shoe, and then screw it again. So where did you keep that skate key? Well, 90% of the kids who skated took the skate key, and there was a little hole in it, and they put a string in it, and then they would tie the string around their head, and the skate key would hang here. He wrote 2 pages on a skate key. I don't remember anything about that novel, except that essay on a skate key. Has nothing to do with the story, totally irrelevant to the story, except it tells you something about his character. And it became interesting. So little things can be very fascinating in books, even a detective novel where I remember that and I've forgotten everything else.
Or latchkey kids used to have the string. You could always tell in the 80s, the latchkey kids,
Yeah,
and
the latchkey kids would have a string with the key.
right.
Exactly.
And we were told to hide them so that people didn't know that
Right.
you'd be going home alone.
Right.
Yeah. My observations. Yeah.
And an extra quarter in your pocket in case you had to call your mom.
Right, for a payphone. Yeah.
Now every kid's got an iPhone.
Sure.
I remember driving around somewhere where I was because I had to call my wife or maybe the person I was living with. I had to call them to tell them I was going to be late. And you're looking for a little payphone. Sometime in a movie when that happens, I'll think to myself, why don't they just call them on their iPhone? And I go, oh, it's 1972. There is no iPhone.
Yeah. I remember being on the phone trying to call my grandmother, letting her know, quote, everything was okay. I was in a little bit of a rough part of town, and somebody was making a nefarious deal and yelling about it, the payphone next to me. And I'll never forget, he was really angry, and I'm thinking, and my grandma was like, is everything okay? Oh yeah, everything's fine. But that's LA, at that time, with payphones.
I don't know. It could be anywhere. But you see what just happened? I talked about about stuff in a medicine chest, how you eat eggs, a skate key, and then you thought about the latch key, and then we got into the calling on the phone, and you remembered how you had to call your grandmother to say everything's fine, and someone is yelling over there doing some kind of drug deal or something.
It was bad, yeah.
There's a scene from a novel,
Yeah.
and which has nothing to do with the story, but it might be the event that the reader never forgets. They'll forget your plot,
Sure.
but they'll never forget that moment where you're on the phone trying to tell your grandmother you're fine, and there's a drug deal going on there, and somebody's yelling and screaming, and you're not exactly in the best part of town.
Right.
Because a phone is a phone.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You found a phone, go make the call.
They used to have 3 in a row, you'd go, and then
Right.
this person came after I already got on the call. And
Right. I'll bet you $100 that if I give a young person today a quarter, and say, there's a payphone. I want you to make a call on the payphone, okay? So they put the quarter in and dial the number. Hi, Bill? Yeah, I'm calling from a payphone. We have a bet going here, okay? All right, I'm fine. Okay, and they hang up. None of them will check the little coin thing to see if the quarter came back.
Right.
But when we did it, when we were young, you did it.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes the quarter would drop back into that little thing and you'd get your quarter back.
Right. It was such a treat.
But they wouldn't do that because it wouldn't even occur to them.
Đúng biết, con thần lừa. Tao chọn con này là được
But those are
rồi.
little details too. That,
Details. Every writing teacher will tell you details.
what's the first writing exercise you give to your students?
They read the first 3 chapters of the method writing book and they have to write a journal entry in which they write like they talk.
How long is the journal entry?
It could be 500 pages, but for the sake of the class, they can only read 2 pages. Because otherwise they could be reading 100 pages and would be there all night. But I don't say you can't, I'd say write as much as you want in your journal for that day or that week, but for the class, limit it to about 500 words, which is about 2 pages, so that we can respond to it, which is 500 is a pretty good normal chunk. But just a journal entry, just write like you talk. I want to hear your voice. If you're not writing like you talk, we will point out those sentences where you had, he skillfully said, adverbs, adjectives, all that writerly stuff. We'll point it out, and we'll try to get you not to do that. And then, in anticipation of the next chapter, we start identifying transformation words. And then the following week, they have to write a journal entry, writing like you talk, but massaging a transformation.
Nhắc đâu?
And sorry, the transformation line again is?
I was hiding the birthday cake. Get rid of the birthday cake. What's the story of your life and the truth of who you are? I was hiding. I didn't want people to see me. I was afraid they wouldn't like me. If they saw who I was, they would hate me. I'm not a good person. I'm a bad boy. Well, I was hiding, ends up, I'm a bad boy. Because I remembered being locked in a closet and I'm a bad boy. That's the bottom story of my life. I'm hiding because I don't want people to see me. I don't want people to see me because they'll know who I am. If they see who I am inside, they know I'm a bad person. And then suddenly it came to me, I'm a bad boy. Well, that's a long way from I was hiding. I'm a bad boy. And then from I'm a bad boy, I'm stuck. Which is where you ended up.
Right.
So I'm teaching them how to massage a transformation line. Then we do the image moment for 2 weeks because it's hard. And then we do something called dreaded association, which is another 2 weeks. Again, too complicated to go into now, but it was originally called the association exercise. And when I would assign it to people and they would read it, they would get notes from their mother as to why they were sick and couldn't come to class. Because they would dread it so. So then as a joke, I called it the dreaded association exercise. And that's what we call it. And then, of course, they do it and they bring it to class and they're just shocked as hell how good it works and what they can do with it and how it can be a very creative thing. And those are the 4 concepts in the first level. Write like you talk, massage transformation line, image moment, and the dreaded association exercise.
How many of your students are actually able to write in a journal and not censor themselves, not try to be too writerly?
Eventually, all of them.
But in the beginning, is that something that a lot of them struggle with?
Many of them don't have a problem with it. They haven't had enough experience writing that they know how to be writers. The ones that have been writing a lot and who think of themselves as writers, or I'm an actor, they might have a little difficulty, or it might just be a sentence or two here and there. And so we pointed out, I talk about the structure of the sentence and why that's written and not spoken. That if you were talking, you would have said it this way, or it would go this way, or that word would be there. So we get into the structure of the sentence and the difference between speech and how we write. For instance, here's a sentence that is absolutely fine. You'll see it in books all the time. It begins with a participle phrase. Standing by the window, I could see it was going to rain. Nothing wrong with that sentence. Great sentence. But we don't talk that way. We don't begin sentences with participle phrases. We don't say, yeah, I came home and standing by the window, I could see it was going to rain. That's not how we structure a sentence when we talk. What we say is, I was standing by the window and I could see it was going to rain. Or when I stood by the window, I could see it was going to rain. But never, standing by the window, comma, I could see it was going to rain. That's not how we talk. So we get into the structure of sentences, how it's not always a word, you know, because everybody has different vocabularies. So it's not about that. It's about the structure of the sentence, how a sentence is structured. And once you start to hear
Bắt đầu thấy
the,
cái này
the
xàm
deep
kết rồi
structure
đó.
of speech as opposed to the deep structure of a literary construct, it doesn't mean it's bad writing. It just means you have to
Cái này
know
xàm
the
hơn đó
difference.
mi.
Then if you know the difference, you can choose when to do one and when to the other. So maybe at the worst, a few people will have one or two of those sentences somewhere in what they write, and we deconstruct it and we talk about it. So basically, I'm getting them to be aware of their writing that is speech-based. Now, it's not always going to be that. Level 2 goes into those 4 tones that are not like you talk. So we're writers, and we can do that too. But first, we want to, like acting, we want to have a good foundation so where you write like you talk. Once in a while, I'll get someone who's been writing a long time, and they're really locked into their style, and it's hard for them to shift out of it, because they just think it's natural to throw in those adverbs,
Chị không gắn được.
adjectives, and so forth. But when it's not good writing sometimes. So sometimes even their writing is not good writing. But most people take to it pretty well.
Why is it not good writing? When someone's writing too writerly, too using different terms that we wouldn't use in normal conversation.
If you've got a laptop around, Google Stephen King adverbs. He's got an essay on it. Adverbs. It's what amateurs do. Bad writing. So don't take my word for it. Stephen King, who's a good writer, by the way. Excessive use of adverbs is the mark of an amateur. Elmore Leonard, he had an article in the New York Times Review of Books, which was all about the 10 things that bad writers do. The first one was excessive use of adverbs and often adjectives. I mean, you have to have adjectives sometime, but you got to be careful. It was so well received that his publisher made it a book. Now, how do you make a book out of one-page article in the New York Times Review of Books? I'll tell you. You have illustrations on every page. You have type that's very big, and the paper is about as thick as a 2x4. And then you get a book. And it's sold really well. And number one is excessive use of adverbs and adjectives. So, you know, this is not something that I made up while I was living in a cave. Every professional writer will tell you that you can spot an amateur when they overuse adverbs and often even the adjectives. So who am I to argue with Stephen King and Elmore Leonard?
Am I wrong?
It's bad writing. Now, there's other things that may not be bad writing, but it's not how you talk. So that's a different thing. I want people to know the difference so that they can control when they're writing what effect they're going to create. He mumbled, he averred, he implied, he shrugged,
แชร์
you know,
พร้อมกันเลย
I don't care if you live or die, he shrugged. So instead of saying a word that has to do with uttering, it's a physical action. I mean,
อีบ้า
writers do that, bad writers do that all the time.
เดี๋ยว
And, you know, I feel like sometimes I gotta go, quit it, quit it.
So keep it simple.
Well, that's a different issue.
Oh, okay.
You can say complicated things, but you say it like you talk.
Kéo cái này vô tự nhiên nó mạnh hơn.
I'm not saying you can't write complicated sentences.
Okay. Okay.
It's just a question of, is that speech or is that a literary construct that came when people
Giờ nó
started
học
to write?
pha xong rồi nó
The
kích hoạt
difference.
cái nó nổ. Right?
One of the problems a lot of people have with Marcel Proust is his fancy language. If you read him fast, you realize he's writing like he talks. There's a great deal of eloquence in there, but if you read it fast, you realize, oh, he's talking. And the elegance that you think you're seeing is often just long sentences. Some sentences are half a page, but he's talking.
You had asked me about another book, books I've read. So another one that I read during the pandemic, or it was on the Libby app for the library, was My Salinger Year. So it was about a woman who worked at a publisher in, I think, the 90s, and her job was to respond to J.D. Salinger fans. And it's so great, and they made a film, and it has Margaret Qualley in it, and
Right, sounds
want to
good.
see it. Yeah, but she wanted to take care in responding to these fans because they were so emotional and they were so invested
Right.
in Holden Caulfield, and she found
That's
that a
my
lot of them
fight.
didn't want to hear what she had to say. They wanted to just have this image of what that character was and what the book meant,
Right.
and she wanted to help
Character-
them. Yeah.
Character creates plot, and voice creates character. Salinger never wrote another book in that voice. If you read Franny and Zoe and Raise High the Roof Beams Carpenters, it's a completely
Hello,
different
yeah.
style and voice.
Xanh
If
nhiễu
you
này.
read some of his short stories, like Uncle Wiggily in Connecticut or The Laughing Man,
Dép
it's
à?
not Holden Caulfield at all. It's not that style. That was Holden's voice. It's unique, and it's what makes his character so unique. The voice. You get the voice, you get the character. You get the character, the plot will take care of itself.
In fact, they became very angry. She was trying to help them,
Yeah.
and they didn't want help.
That's
they wanted
right.
to be angry, and they wanted to be with Holden.
They wanted to be with
Yeah.
Holden.
Yeah, it was a really fascinating book.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing the films.
Wait, the Salinger years.
Yeah,
Not
my
Catcher in the Rye.
No, My Salinger Year, and it's based on this woman in New York City in the 90s.
Yeah.
And it's really
No, I
well-
don't think they're ever going to make a movie of Catcher in the Rye until when his book goes in the public domain. Because he won't allow that. He's dead now, but I think he has explicit instructions it's not to be sold to the movies.
Yeah, he had very rigid rules, I believe. It sounds like he was a nice man, the way she described him in the book. I don't know,
Yeah.
his urban legend might have been different, but
Yeah.
he treated her well, and so she just had very little interaction with the
Hello.
publishing house.
Right.
But it was fascinating and just, you know.
Those
anyway.
things are kind of really not important, whether the writer is a nice man or not. No, writers can be son of a bitches, you know. We may not realize it, but it really doesn't matter. What matters is the world they create. I don't care what Salinger was like. I love Holden. I love Holden.
Interesting.
And so he created something that was real for me, and that's all you can ask an author to do.
A writer should reach the reader. It's not just about making themselves feel good or looking good to their peers. It's about reaching the reader.
It's all of that. I mean, you do want to impress your peers. I mean, we're human. We want other writers, you know, our peers, to appreciate what we've done. Obviously, I want people to like my poetry, but it means a lot to me if another poet who I admire really thinks my poetry is good. Okay, and I do want to reach my readers, but at the same time, I want to satisfy myself. If what I did, a writer, sculptor, painter, makes me happy and I met the challenge, then I'll move on. At some point, you can't really go by what people think of your work. You have to do it because it's your calling, it's what you have to do. But who wouldn't want someone to like their work?
But is there a certain point where an author, an artist becomes so controversial that it stops being about their work and now it's just the legend of the artist, the mystique around them, the reputation, whether it's true or not?
Okay, and if that's true, what are we gonna do about that?
And that's what I'm asking. Yeah, what should someone do if their work is transcended to that point?
Look, everything is gonna happen under the sun.
Cái rau này có hướng.
You know, there's not, I mean, I can't pontificate and say, well, it should be this way, or it should be that way, or it shouldn't be this way, it shouldn't be that way. You know, it's gonna happen, and sometimes it's out of the writer's control. Things happen that they didn't expect, or they
Nó
didn't
đâu có vào
want.
đâu.
And sometimes they want that. They act a certain way, and there becomes a legend about how they are, and they cultivate that legend. You know, I mean,
súng luôn hả?
writers are people, and you know, people are crazy. Not every crazy person writes a novel, but some of us do. It doesn't make us sane just because we can write a novel.
What was the artist that did the LACMA lights? Chris.
Yeah.
So he did
that.
He-
Burden.
Yeah, Chris Burton.
Chris Burton.
Yeah.
Right.
Burton.
Right.
Yeah, Chris
Love
Burton.
him. I love him.
Right, Chris Burton. So
I would
he,
have never expected that to be as iconographic and as popular as it is. He did something that somehow captured the imagination of people and transcended it being, one, a spectacle, and two, a work of art. It's something beyond that. Because on some level, it's like a bunch of lights, what's the big deal with that? And on another
Tóm
level,
nữa
it's,
là
I mean, it's not art. What is it? Well, it's a place people like to go to. Well, that's like a ride at Coney Island. What's the
Đúng
difference?
đó rồi.
You know, I don't know, but art sometimes connects to people in ways that we don't really anticipate or understand.
Mất tay gì
There's just
yếu
something
quá.
about art that, I don't know, it, like Duchamp's urinal. You know, he puts this urinal in a room in a museum, and it's done. You could copy that and do something, you know, put something else in there that would be so ridiculous. But he did it. It's done. He put a urinal in an art museum. It's very famous. So painters and sculptors, as filmmakers, they do something, and sometimes you can analyze it all you want, but there's an area that's unexplainable. And I love the light thing. I mean,
Đi.
I love to see people there. I remember there was what was it? It wasn't a blackout, but it was something, and it was the only thing in the area that was lit, and
Ngoài
people
nó
were
biến
just
mấy đầu tư thành gấu.
having so much fun there. So, you know, it's weird. It's just, have you seen the car thing? The cars?
haven't been to LACMA in a little bit.
Oh, I don't know if the cars are still there.
Oh.
Did you see the film with the guy with the time, with the clock? It was called The Clock. And it exactly went with the time on clocks. And it was a 24-hour film.
Didn't see that one.
Oh.
no.
I mean, it was an experience. I was in Paris a year later, and it was being held in Paris at the time. But it's just a series of shots from movies that have a clock in them, a time. And as you watch it, the time on the clock is exactly what time it is over a 24-hour period. So it begins in the morning and it ends at midnight. You know, it begins at midnight, but then it ends at midnight.
So bullshit.
The first 5 minutes you're bored, and you're thinking, I'm not going to be able to sit here for another 5 minutes. And before you know it, you're there for 2 hours, 3 hours, and it's riveting. It's unbelievable. Who would have thought to do that? It's called The Clock. I mean, it's in the beginning, you couldn't see it all 24 hours because you could only see it during the hours that the museum was open. So if the museum opened at 9 in the morning and it closed at 8 at night, at 8 at night, they would say, okay, folks, you gotta leave. Or you'd get there at 8 in the morning, you could see it from 8, but you would never get to see what happened after 8 or after midnight, you know. But then the closing, so I had gone several times and saw 2 or 3 hours of it at different times. And then they said they were gonna show all 24 hours at the museum the last day. And I was there for the whole 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
And at the end, there were, I would say, a quarter of the theater were people who'd been there the whole time. And when it was over with, we all stood up and cheered and were hugging each other like, you made it. And it was one of those transcendent experiences. I've never forgotten it. And it's utterly ridiculous. I mean, who would want to watch that? Every scene was 2 seconds, 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds. And there was a clock. It could be someone looked at their wristwatch, could be a grandfather clock, clock on a train station, just scenes that had no connection at all. How could you watch 5 hours of that? It became mesmerizing. It was unbelievable. I tell you, one of the most amazing things I ever saw.
What year was this?
2000 something, early, maybe 20 years ago, something like that. Yeah,
So
it was
they're,
at LACMA.
oh, okay.
But I don't know when they'll show it again, but if they will, people will go. You know. It toured all over the world. So, but your question was about, you know, when an artist creates something, you never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to catch people's imagination. I don't even know why we all stood up and cheered and were hugging each other at the end. Maybe because we had been there for 24 hours. And maybe because we were able to endure it. I don't know what it was, but it was a feeling of exaltation. It was amazing. I've never experienced that before. Because when I saw it normally, you would just walk out at some point. Or if you were there like at 6 o'clock at night, at 8 o'clock the guy would come in and go, okay folks, we have to close it down, the museum is closing. So there was no like experience. But for that there was. It was amazing.
Did you stay up the full 24 hours?
That was when it did the last show, they specifically said it was going to be 24 hours. Before, it was at the museum, you could only see it during the museum hours. Consequently, you were only seeing, like if the museum opened at 9, the first image you saw was 9 o'clock. And as the day wore on, it would be 10, 1, 3, 5. You could stay from 9 to 8, but you'd still miss a lot. And I never did stay more than 4 hours. So when I went, I would stay 3, maybe 4 hours. And I'd go with friends, and we would get loaded or something and watch it or something. But that last night, when it was going to be 24 hours, I planned to be there for the whole thing. I think there was one point where I knew I'd seen that twice, an hour. I'd seen it twice. And I left and got myself something to eat, and then I came back. And my seat got taken, so I had to stand against the wall, but then eventually someone left, and I sat down. It was amazing. Read about it. The Clock. Check it out. Google it.
Hết rồi sao? Alice out. Còn mấy người ban không?
死ぬほどかい不安ですかい何がしように増えるくらいバカなく安心気づけば同時この世に生まれた君がねやたらとしんどい声はつらいバラバラなる頭でこの支援隊けど脈から I love you が吹き出て一体どうしようこの想いをどうしよう天の奥をザラメが溶けてからになりそうどこ待ち開いて呼ばれちにそう今この世で君だけ大世界繰り返っても勝ちようない君だけルールは適用外様子ともせはこうしかない勝つだけ放題君が笑顔で放ってあっただけたぶらでここにスティグマ申し訳ねえな矢を刺して貫いてここ弱点死ぬほどかい不安ですかい何がしように増えるくらいバラなく安心気づけば当時この世に生まれた君がねパチモンでもいい何でもいい今君と懐いてる全て欲しいけど脈から I love you が吹き出てI miss out Miss out 一体どうしようこの想いをどうしよう天の奥をザラメが溶けて顔になりそうどこ待ち開いて笑っちゃいそう今この世で君だけ大世界
Xấu có khó quá không?
No time to wait.
Không đọc. Tức là đấm một cái mất 8% máu rồi.
Come. Come.
悪魔の歌悪魔の子やりとなく誰があんたマジン誰あこなご
このたまるたまる血みどろをただ君に捧げてた僕が行けばのない一度にこう体にほらエンジン羽渡りに What's engine
丸い月操作線電線の絡まるまでの本当かみんな見た線に下されて食べられて所詮雨が降っても消えない汚れをあなたは隠してるミュージックち壊したヴィーナスにやりや笑ってる善悪すら通じないまん丸の大きな瞳で多弁振る舞った狂気の悪魔が劣るきっと飽きるまで音だろう書き留め込んだ錠剤血液のような酸っぱい匂いがまた充満していたな愛にすがって落ちてゆくただそれでも心はついてる衝動的で少しほてったあなたが綺麗でなくれなずんでいく切なの青春があこの瞬間に始まった気がした
ちょっと待ってやっぱ良くないって明日も続く地獄垂れ出口がない一体見つからないんだけどあなたなんか知ってる思えば出会いは単純だった狐の酒を食らったように玉がクラクラクラしたそして目が合った一瞬の進行と引き換えに一生と心臓を渡すのさ永遠続くファンと悪夢目覚めた時あの苦しになっていたジャンクで汚れたこの声でうるせえガイアを黙らせるあんたがとやかく言わずともこちら側が殴り込んでやる邪悪な輩と蔑んだ奴らの思考の外に出る愛だかなんだか知らねえが望み通り深く落ちてやるんだたどり着いたぜあんたのせいだけを追ってこの呪縛と束縛のかれてやるからちょっと待ってやっぱまたループ Like the back room 憧れ出口はない実際まだ出れないんだけどあなたなんか知ってる
また見ぬ光景と浅ましいおぞましい気がして照らす前かさらって群がる30度なら3回回って転がる犬だけロンリーどれくらいのスピードで進む前に前にと失ったつもりでいたならここがどうかしてんだろう心がどうかしてんだろう失ったつもりでした才能的なランブルだから知って甘えたランプ叫び出せ笑い出せ生きながらは才能的なランブルそれは傲慢だったラブ叫び出せ笑い出せ生きながら笑う
的不気味な口にで貴重液状態それた恐怖のアバターあのバッター抱きしめたんだ僕の心が何か欲しがっているじっと見たか僕を探し出したEverybody そこで何してるデビューに全て吸い取られちゃう Everybody そこで何してるエビに全て染まって If you can't say so give it to No say so be say so you know Can't say look at the DJ No be so importantなもの届けるようなキスしてファーストデースだけに捧げよう命の姫
Ra là lát sao chứ bây giờ thích cái đường
溶けたらことの葉を散らした深い深いまどろみへ眠れるよ赤い指でその目を閉じ恐れるように血に溺れる戒律のように傷口に降る雨のように痛みきさ見つけてさまよう群れの中で行き着く場所に行きつけないまままた一つかけたわからないばかりで拾うことなく渡してゆく涙届かない聞こえないすがりつく声指覚めされるとなくしたものを忘れた隙間に巣についている影いつからそこにいて笑ってた Very deep 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 down
大体曖昧な感情労働を想像した結局命名が命令だなりくり構わんジョークさほら狂った呪いだ次は誰だ誰だでこんな玉で勝てるわけないよな僕が僕の心臓を君にあげるからもう一度溶かしてよこの胸のざわめきをいつか解いてよこの解けない想いをもう一度その胸でギュッと抱いてさあさあ首をのようはせて回れ身を焦がして恋して街に響け止まぬ雨のような明ける夜のようなうるさいファンファーレで街を抑えああいう目に心地の時が終わり全部見つけ出して壊したとしても知らない誰かが唇を切って旗を奪ってかかすんだろうさあさあ首をよはせて回れ身を焦がして恋して街に響け止まぬ雨のような明ける夜のようなうるさいファンファーレで街を抑えうるさいファンファーレで街を抑えそれをこのぐっと知ったのは君のせいだバイオレンスバラバラバラ色の君違う大騒ぎいつまでも話足りないね終わりの先でも二人この気持ちだけでやけどしちゃいたいダーリン君だけ君は怖がらないでやっと出会えただきたい周りは見ないで目は開けたままでもいい涙溢れるほど注ぐ Blame no kiss Yeah
引きちぎりまるで手術のよう料理のように早くそこに舌を入れて心まさぐられ二人だけのバイオレンス
盤上に立っていたじくり棘を刺すようなこの痛みなど焦燥の正体に夢と勘違いしたくなる心もよいつだってだって絡まる平原いつだってなんてかすばめいで大人になったって今みたいなタモデラタタタただ君のナンセンスが嘘みたいな視界をバッと言葉なら復讐の正体が肺にのめり込んだみたいなマリーさえも寄りかかり合って生きてる人生依存した衝動にめいて化けをまとったって役に立つ居場所があるなら夜はまだ明けぬまま夢を見よう僕にだってね未来にかけて祈るような線へ光に目を向かせ時にらせていてちぎりをかした少年あの頃みたいな距離もうこんなにとしてただ声を出すだけ気楽に行こうぜ常識なんてしんぜそうめいな瞳で世界を知る溢れる今度もよいぞ迎えてくれよ拍手喝采で
Let's go.
Éo lại. Đâu có cách style gây giờ.
To the death.
stop rồi. Thôi nhảy đi ăn sáng đi. Sao nó đến rồi?